the real Greek. And so me and Mandy just going to have a little chat, just sort of bit of a recap. So if you don't know Mandy, just a bit about her background. I've got loads of questions that have been submitted in advance, and then we're going to open it up to anybody here if you actually want to ask some questions as well. So Mandy, over to you for a bit, really. Before you found IEMT, what's your story? What were you doing before IEMT? How did you find it?
Well, I qualified as a life coach in 2004. That's when we used old-fashioned things like pens and papers and the Royal Mail.
Wow.
Yeah, very long time ago. And I didn't really do much with that. The reason that I did that was because I was fascinated by the psychology of change, because I'd worked in the weight loss industry for 6 years. I was doing motivational speaking, that type of thing. Became interested in psychology of change, got my diploma. And then I also have a background in drama, and I ended up working in my boys' school, running my own drama after school workshops. And I use the coaching strategies in that. And I did that for about 7 years. And then I had a major life event. My husband left me, and I was working then in a job that I hated. And I thought, I need to go back to what I love. So I started doing that in 2017, and yeah, refreshed a lot of my qualifications and all of that, like you do, because it had been a while. And then I got a PTSD diagnosis myself in the April of 2019. And so I didn't know how to handle that. I mean, I was obviously using all my skills, all the CBT that I'd studied and learned to try to manage my emotions. And it was him leaving that triggered it. But obviously, as we all know, there's stuff going on in the past that's unresolved as well. And it was a client that I was working with, actually. She was a business coach, and she was coming to me for personal coaching. And she told me about you, and she told me about IEMT, and she'd been misdiagnosed with terminal cancer. And of course, that had traumatized her. And I don't know how she'd found you, but she found you. And she actually went on one of your training courses. Never got certified, as many of them don't, because they don't do the case studies. But she did all the training, and she told me about you. So I came to you as a client in May 2019, I think it was. And 3 sessions later, I was changed, completely changed. And sometimes I have to keep reminding myself of that experience, because it's getting less and less intense to remember it all. But I have to remember how that feels. And so because of the difference, I then did your training course, and that again was in the days where we had to go to a building and do a course and get a train and stuff. And I'm based in Shropshire, so I came down to London and did your weekend training course in 2019. And the rest, as they say, is history. I got my case studies into you within a fortnight, and I got my certification. No, it was July when I came to you as a client. It must have been August or something when I did the training, and I got my certification on the 4th of October 2019. So that's the 6-year benchmark that I've just passed.
Wow,
yeah.
I have done some previous interviews with Mandy, including one where we actually talk about her as being a client. If you want a deep dive, so we're not going to go into that kind of stuff today. So if you want to watch those interviews, they're all on YouTube, and I'll send everybody the replay links for that as well. So you were a life coach beforehand, and then you came to do the IEMT training, and you've integrated IEMT with life coaching and created your own kind of system, your own kind of way of working. And obviously it's worked very well because, well, figures speak for themselves, don't they? So I know that you've always got a long waiting list for people to come to work with you. So let me ask you, since we did our last interview, which I think was probably a good year or so ago, we tried to do like the milestones.
That was 500 clients about a year ago, because I've slowed down.
Right. Okay.
I think I was coming up to 500 clients the last time you interviewed me.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So since we last interviewed, have there been any kind of standout clients, any kind of stories, confidential, obviously consider it, any kind of or challenging cases that you've worked with over the last year or so that come to mind?
I think there are two that are coming to my mind, and they're actually quite recent. And I seem to go through phases where I have a bout of a certain type of client. And I went through a phase where I just seem to be working predominantly with men. And two of those have sprung into my head as you're asking that question. And at the moment, I seem to be working with therapists. That seems
Right.
to be what's going on now,
Okay.
because they're working out that I can provide something that they can't, So I'm working with psychotherapists, psychologists, counsellors in domestic violence, abuse sectors, and I'm actually working with medical professionals, people in like minor injuries units,
Mm,
and the most recent, and this was like a bit of a wow moment. I'm starting working with her next week, and she's a mental health nurse.
cool.
Yeah, in practice and
Mm,
within the NHS. So that's kind of what seems to be happening at the moment. And they're all referrals, all of them. I really, really rarely get clients now from, in fact, my son did that whole algorithm with my website, the whole search engine
yeah.
maximization thing, and I had to
SEO.
tell him, I had to tell him to stop, because I there was just too much coming in, and there were people I didn't know, and I didn't know anyone that they knew, and they didn't really know
Okay.
what I did and that type of thing. So um, but as you know, I took a step back about 3 years ago. I just had a calmer space because I was going
Mm,
at it like a lunatic, which is why I've racked up so many clients.
mm,
And you have to at some point think about yourself. So, and I'm nearly 62, I got the menopause at 59, and I could feel that I was doing too much. My brain was exhausted, and that's not helping me or my clients. So
mm.
I did take the foot off the gas a couple of years ago, but this January my brain woke up again. So I've done every
Right.
bit of CPD I probably could this year. I've loved it. I've done the advanced training, and my brain's hungry again. So, but that's not necessarily what making me want to see more clients. It's just making me want to do more work, if you know what I mean.
So how many clients a week are you currently working with, would you say?
About 12 is my average
Oh,
now, because I do 4 a day, and I work in a system where I do 4 on, 4 off, um, because that matches my husband's work patterns. And so I see no more than 4 clients in a day.
mhm.
But if I can possibly manage it, I'll try to get one of those 4 days to myself. So I'll work 3 of those 4 days.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that works beautifully for me. It's enough, but it's a work-life balance, because
Good.
I've done the whole 5 days a week, 4 clients a day, and it was too much.
So currently, because I know you've always got like a long waiting list. So roughly how long's your waiting list now to get
About
sessions with?
4 weeks at the moment.
Okay.
I've got availability in January. I mean, they'd have to fit in with me at the
Yeah.
moment. I
Yeah.
couldn't, but yeah, I've got availability in January.
Well, it's a nice position to be in that
Yeah,
you've had to dial down the SEO because you're getting too many leads. And
yeah.
when you were getting people from the internet in general, did you find they were, I'm trying to find the nice language for this, lesser quality leads than the people
What
who
I
were
would
referred?
say is they were tire kicking.
Right.
That's, yeah. And I just got fed up with it, because I have a standard response that I send out to everybody, and you
Yeah.
send that standard response out, they don't read it, and they ask you a question that's answered in the response that you send. And all of that is a symptom of anxiety anyway, people who can't focus or concentrate. But it was random people like that I was getting. And I was very good. Obviously, I answered all the questions and it didn't go anywhere. Or they wanted to know how much it was, and it's all written on my website. Yeah. But it was just, there was just one point a couple of years ago where it was all going a bit crazy. So the referral works beautifully for me. It seems to be a really good level pace, and you know, and because the people that I'm the friends of people I've already worked with, then you know, there's already a connection there before they come through the door, and there's already a faith in the process when they come through the door, and they know that's the way I work. They you know, they've had conversations with whoever's referred them, so they kind of do some of the preparation for me. But I have a filter system that I use when they come to me with initial inquiry, and it is pretty much, this is the way I work. And if they want me to work in a different way, it's, I'm sorry, I can't help you. This is the way I work. And I'm at that place now where I'm confident enough to not have me chain yanked.
I think this is really important, especially for those people who are new to therapy. Because a lot of people have been asking for advice for new therapists. How do I deal with this? And I think with a lot of therapy, so my background's hypnotherapy, and so when you come out of the course, it's like a level playing field between you and the other people who've come out, and everyone say, be a generalist, offer everything, and then sort of try and undercut people, look at other people's websites. And if you look at other people's hypnotherapy websites, it's like piles of pebbles and leaves and I don't know, just all this kind of weird, which I have no idea what that's got to do with mental health. But anyway, I digress. But it's always sort of the blind leading the blind, and trying to sort of work with everybody, and offering discovery calls. I don't do a discovery call. I do a sales call, basically.
I don't do that.
You don't, but do you do? So can I just ask you what your process is from somebody kind of contacting you to actually doing the sessions? What's your sort of your process of working with clients?
Okay. The first thing I feel I need to say is you have to work out who you are first. Who you are as a therapist, what your system is, and what way works best for you. Okay, that is just the most important thing. And if I was, as I said, I'm working with therapy, and I don't do mentoring, I don't want to do that. I give them to you. I just go and see Matt. I don't want to do marketing. I don't want to do any of that. But I will work on their own personal stuff and their self-esteem around not being able to put themselves out there and that type of thing. So I'd be talking personal rather than professional guidance. But I think it's really important that you know who you are, because that's what you're selling. So why, if that's what you're selling, do you have to go and compare yourself to a million other people, a load of different websites, undercut your pricing? Or to a large degree, you have to look at the pricing when you're first starting, and then you can pitch it right. But you do that, you pitch it right, and you stick to it, and you make sure you're offering that value. And so I think it's really important to not go off down every rabbit hole comparing yourself to someone. I think that's the worst thing you can do, because you lose your identity and your confidence in doing that when you do that. And it's pointless. It destabilizes you. I think it's more important to focus on what you can offer that you know works. And I work that out from being a coach beforehand and from working with you on what worked that you did that helped me. And having that experience as a client, like your follow-ups, your check-ins, that is something so few people do or offer. And that is a game changer for me. And even though I do it with all my clients, some of them don't want it, but they get it anyway. But it is a part of what I do, but I don't advertise that. I don't say that that's what I do. So it's a nice little surprise, you know?
I think because what I do with my clients, and I always look outside of my industry for ideas. And with my dentist, I always used to get a text message to say, your 6-month checkup is please now book in and stuff like that. So I was thinking, this is good. So when I work with a client, I always check in with them after a couple of days. And then after we do the sessions, I always then check in with them after 2 weeks. And then 3 months, 6 months, a year. And you just need a basic CRM or calendar system to you can automate it, to be honest, if you've got the software. And the thing is, this works in a few ways. One, it looks really good because a lot of people, as soon as they close that door or click off, you've got the money, that's it, transaction over, right? I think therapists who don't have conviction in their own skills will tend to do that and not want to speak to their clients afterwards in case it hasn't worked.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. And I'm more interested, if it hasn't worked, why?
Yeah.
I want to know why it hasn't worked. And I think a lot of therapists are scared.
If you check in, I mean, I'm slightly different from you. I do a check-in, I do 3 sessions. I do a check-in before the first and second, but I always say, if you're worried about anything, just message me. And I do a check-in between second and third session. And then after the third session, I leave them alone for 3 weeks. And then I check in on them, unless they've booked in with me again.
Yeah.
I will check in with them at 3 weeks stage to see how they're doing. And at that point, they may decide they want to book again, or they tell me what's going on. But the reason for doing it between the first and second and third is because they could be worrying about something and not feel like they can contact you. Like, well, I've not slept, or I had a really bumpy night the first night, and I can help to explain why they've had a really bumpy night. All right, is that normal then? Yes, that is. Although I've already told them that. Of course, the end of the first session, their head's a bit fried, isn't it? So they're not necessarily listening. So I think it's a duty of care, and also knowing that they can contact me at any time. And after that third session, they can contact me at any time, and I'll give them the homework. I'll give them the eye movements to do. I'll give them a pattern of what they need to do if they've had a crisis or something. And then they can fix themselves for free just by following my advice. And then if that doesn't work, then I get them in.
Yeah, and this is really important, is that when you have a follow-up system, you speak with your clients, see how they are, because something else may have come up.
Yeah.
So when you say you've got like a sort of a classic example, if you help people with kind of low self-esteem, especially in sort of meeting people, kind of thing like that, they will have a certain set of problems around that. Say they now go out to meet people and now they're in a relationship. Well, they might now have some intimacy or whatever issues in that, but they wouldn't have got to there because they were, and so by sort of keeping in contact with people, you can then work with them if they need more help that's kind of sort of coming up. And the way I thought about this was like, basically like a dentist. It's like you do your checkup. How's that thing we've done? Do you have any other issues? Now, sometimes it needs a session, sometimes it doesn't. Just get a different toothbrush or something. But also you can use that time to ask if they might know anybody else who might be a benefit of seeing you. And you're always staying in the forefront of their mind as well by keeping in contact with them. And the other thing is, that's when you can ask for a review.
That's when I get my testimonials.
Yeah. Testimonials and reviews,
that third week in. Third week, feedback is 3 weeks after the last session. Yeah. And whatever they put in their email, which is usually very positive, I always ask, can I, screenshot that?
Yeah.
And I share them all anonymously. I just say it was a man in his 30s or whatever. But I don't know. That certainly gets my presence out there on social media and people know who I am. I don't have a business page. It's just my page. It's just me. It's what I've had for me tea, where I've gone on holiday, and who's bought me a plant, and what everything is there because it's me that I'm selling. And I obviously don't put stuff on there that I don't want everybody to know anyway. So I'm quite transparent. So they feel like they're getting to know the human. And I also on my website, before they come to me, because to go back to your original question, what's my pattern? They contact me. I send out sort of a first response letter, which includes all the disclaimers, all the terms and conditions, that type of thing, but in a gentle, not in your face way. And also it includes a link to a YouTube video, which is me saying what happens in those first 3 sessions. So that video, they meet me through that video.
Yeah.
I've got to do another one. It's 3 years old, actually. So I need to update that. But they've got a video there, so they feel like they already know me. Yeah. And obviously the website says what it says, and it has all the costs on. And then they come back, yeah, I'd like to book, this is my availability. And then I send them 3 dates across with bank details. I take a deposit. They don't go in my diary until I've had a deposit. And the balance of payment becomes due before the first session. So by the time they come through the door, they've paid for all 3. Yeah. And that's it. You know, if they decide to book more after that, then that's fine. We'll take that one at a time. But like you, I'll send out appointment reminders via email, that type of thing.
Are yours automated, or do you do them manually?
Well, I do it myself. Yeah.
Okay. So I have, it depends on the software that you use, because you can use like Acuity and Calendly, and all this can be automated as well. So because
I'm really not that busy that it needs to be.
Yeah.
And I prefer, I'm a bit old fashioned, I think. I prefer to have a personal touch and to say something like, I hope you had a lovely time in London. Looking forward to seeing you out, you know, whatever, you know.
Cool. And but the important thing is to actually have your own structure, or your SOP, your standard operating procedure, as we call it. So just for an example, after I do a Q&A session on Facebook, I have 20 things I have to do after that. 20. So that includes downloading the video, editing the video, uploading it to Facebook, doing it because I upload it to all this different things. And a lot of people just think, I'm going to be a therapist, I want to work, there'll be a queue of people at my door. There's a lot of admin to do with, you know, especially when you're working with people, there's an awful lot of admin that you sort of have to do.
Yeah,
and people don't realize the amount of admin and management that goes into running a small business, because that's what you are, and you are the product. And do you think that when you work with somebody, when they're talking to somebody about you, do you think they say you should go for IEMT, or do you think you should go see Mandie? And they
think it's about me.
Yeah. So I think people who are reliant on NLP, hypnosis, IEMT, CBT, you know, if you're trying to promote that, what you will get is tire kickers. You'll get people, you're essentially selling the same kind of product, and people are trying to find the cheapest supplier of that product.
Yeah. That's what the algorithm on was doing. Yeah.
So now I am selling, so again, I don't really promote my session. So I sell IEMT practitioner training. That is my product. And I am not moving away from it, but I'm producing some other stuff next year, which only I can do, because obviously it's Andrew's content. And I do keep it as a set price, but other people are cheaper than me. But because I've got the content that goes out there, a lot of people think I'm the only person who does the training. I've never said that. It's just because I put so much content out, people familiarize themselves with the content and then want to work with you. And this is really important, especially for new therapists. What is your brand? Why do people come to see you? In fact, this was one of the questions, actually. I know you said it's kind of changed a bit recently. You used to work with a very kind of different type of client, but who is your type of client, and how has that evolved over the years, really?
Well, what I love about what I do is I can't, you know, that was a question that was asked on the questions you sent through to me. I don't have one. Grown-ups, over 18s.
Yeah.
That's it. And I do have phases of, like I said, I'll have a cluster of men suddenly, and they're not necessarily know each other. It's just that I get a cluster of men. I get, in a minute, it's a cluster of therapists that I'm dealing with, and then it'll be something else in January. But I suppose you could say 60% of my clients female.
Okay.
Probably between 35 to 55. I suppose there's a block there of but all dealing with different stuff. I like working with young people because it's fast and it's quick because their history is not as long.
Oh, okay.
That's definitely found that the older they are, the shit they've got.
Yeah.
And
I work with babies. That's it. Okay.
I am very thorough, and it's what you were saying something before about you know, if somebody's going forward and then they come across another problem. I mean, when they come to me with a problem, I don't just deal with that. I have a good route around and find out what else is going on. And things that they didn't even realize I could help them with, like back pain or a fear of spiders, or, you know, because any of those, I don't even promote phobias or pain management on my website. You know, so they'll go away going, oh my God, not only have I got rid of that, but she stopped me back hurting and I'm not scared of spiders anymore. You know, because I think if I've got a human in front of me, it's my duty to get in all the back. I always say going into the back of the cupboard, you know.
Yeah.
And making sure they're as solid as they possibly can be, and significantly they can look after their own emotional landscape when they leave me. Because I teach them how to do the eye movements, and I do that on session 2, and I get them to do that, and they always have homework to do.
And is your structure, because I know it was, I don't know if it's changed, the first session was like memories and emotions, second session identity, third session coaching skills. Is it still that kind of structure, or?
Third sessions have changed slightly. Section 1 and 2 is pretty much as you do the training, you know, like memory work first, because that's the protagonist of the reason the ID's out. So I would look at that. The identity work, I tend to go in a lot deeper than most. I'll look at where they've got stuck and I'll investigate what went on there, because it can be stuff that they don't even realize is a trauma. It can be stuff that they've never mentioned to me with the memory work the week before. So I will always do a thorough look at that. And I also made notes of that, like their younger versions of themselves and how they were feeling at younger ages. And then once they're powered up and clear, they're then given the eye movements to protect that work over the coming week, to make sure that if anything does upset them, they're empowered to look after themselves. That is a massive shift. But also, if they've got a problem with the mother, and let's face it, pretty much 80% of every client's got a problem with their mother or a parent or something. I will always ask them to be around that person and observe themselves now after we've done the work. And then when they come back to me, do they need strategy? Is there something we've missed or I've missed in the sessions? We could, you know, if they were still being triggered by it, I'll have another poke around. And then if there's nothing there, I'll give strategy then. That will be life coaching. But the other thing I've started doing on the third session is some healing work through visualization. She's very similar to your metaphors in movement work. And that's massively healing. And they're less likely to get triggered back to those younger versions of themselves if they've had that healing work done. I have, over the last 12 months since the last time you interviewed me, that has been the biggest change in my practice, the visualization work. And I've actually developed my own method called the Bridge method. There we are. That's original, isn't it? I've developed my own method of that can follow sort of the IEMT questioning, but using visualization to free. And that has worked beautifully with people. Like I have one client who has brain tumor, so I can't do IEMT with her, but I've been able to use those visualization techniques to empower her, and it's been almost as effective. I would say as effective, but I can't because I've only got about 2 examples, 2 clients that I'm with. but that's been really good too. So that's quite exciting for me. And this is what I'm saying. This year I've been doing a lot of my own development.
Have you ever done training in metaphors of movement at all?
I've done symbolic modeling and clean language.
Okay.
Way back in 2005 with a piece of paper and a pen on a course in a room. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But they were the inspirations for that. So I have got a handle on what that is. Yeah.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to dive into a lot of questions now.
Okay.
We've got a lot to get through, and then we're going to open it up to people as well. Okay, right. Oh no, that's my question. What's been the biggest learning from using IEMT in your sessions?
Oh God, it just makes everything so much easier. Just makes it just so fast and transformational in terms of moving people forward. And as a coach, I'm not a psychotherapist, I'm not a counselor, I'm not rooting around in the past, I'm just getting them out of it and moving forward. And that's the very, very best thing for that happening.
Brilliant.
And that to me is that's why I love it. And that's why I use it in nearly every single session, whether somebody's coming to me for coaching or not. And they come and they go, I actually don't think I need any eye movements today. I'm having trouble making a decision.
Right.
I is having trouble making a decision. Well, we're going to do a bit of IEMT and then we'll talk about it,
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
I think some people watching might not yet be trained in IEMT. And if you're not, get on board. So I'll send out some links as well. Next training's in end of January. Okay, what's Mandie's favorite issue to work with and why?
Do you know, I don't have that. I read that question. I thought, God, it is a really good question, but I get excited about not knowing. I get excited about, I do know something because I always take a bit of history from them before they come through the door, but I don't know the human when they come through the door. I don't know whether they're going to be a talker, whether they're going to be a doubter, what pattern of chronicity I'm dealing with. That's what excites me the most. Not knowing and feeling that on your toes sort of bobbing and weaving situation where you're navigating that. That's wildly exciting for me.
I think that
I suppose that's what I'm saying. New clients.
Yeah, I think that my favorite client to work with type of client is somebody who's been through something really horrible and they've tried other stuff and they think they're never going to get better.
Yeah.
That's like my key demo right there. Basically, if you come to see me, something's bad. Something's bad.
Yeah, exactly. And I get that too. But when you asked me before about, and I said 2 men had sprung into my mind. One of them was one of those horrendous traffic accident. Horrendous traffic accident. Police tried to frame him. Horrible story. I ended up uncovering a part of his history that he had no idea was linked to the accident. He'd spent 3 years with a psychologist and not got anywhere. And he had 3 sessions with me and he was free.
Wow.
And that he said to me, he was a talker, So I thought, oh, here we go. He's a talker. And you've got to navigate and you've got to, he was an absolute sweetheart, really, but he had a real problem with police to the point where he wanted to go and rip open the door of police cars and drag them out, even if, the rage was completely out. He was going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And the day after he came to see me, a police car had nearly nudged his wife going down some pedestrian area in Shrewsbury, and he hadn't reacted at all.
Wow.
Didn't react at all, and she was more in shock than he was. And he's going, this is amazing, I can't believe this. And that 3rd session, he hurled himself at me and cried and said, nobody has been able to help me apart from you, and I'll never be able to thank you. And he was in tears. He was so emotional. So that stands out. That was only about a month ago.
Excellent. Do you know what I found interesting is I've watched the whole series of Sopranos. I'm nearly at the end of the last series now,
Oh, yeah,
and so for those who don't know, The Sopranos is about gangsters or mobs in America, and Tony Soprano, the head of the family, goes to see a psychiatrist because he has panic attacks. It takes until the middle of the third season for the psychiatrist to say, "When did you first start having panic attacks?" I was like,
yeah.
"Oh my God."
I know.
It's taken
It's
3
insane.
years, 3 years for it to get to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2 years into his psychotherapy,
Yeah.
his psychologist said, accused him of being a liar. 2 years in. And you know, you hear all sorts of horror stories, and it's their
Mm,
reality, not reality, and we know that. It's his version of
mm,
and all of that. But I think if these people, you know, you watch anything on the TV now, Matt, and if they'd had IEMT, there'd be no bloody stories, there'd be no movies, you know.
yeah. Mhm.
That's what I think. There'd be no story. All these dramas and dark, and all these people who are messed up. If they'd all been to see us, there'd be no story.
Yeah,
Everybody would be little fluffy rabbits jumping around on pink
this
clouds.
is what I want. Just a program where just people are nice and nice things happen. All right.
But you don't like that on LinkedIn.
No, because it's a business platform. Right. Okay. Yeah, I do have some IEMT based questions as well, but I'll ask the ones which aren't first. Um, what was the most okay? What's the most challenging client session? Or what has been the most challenging client session that you've had?
The woman that never told me that she had psychosis, so it didn't work.
Right.
And I've got a 99.5% success rate now. So I was actually struggling to remember the one. I remember her,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember the boy that had spent 5 years frying his brain with cannabis, developed he was clean. He'd been sober for 2 years, but he'd obviously fried his brain that badly. He
Yeah.
developed horrendous paranoia and anxiety,
Yeah.
health anxiety, and then of course he wouldn't take the medication to address the health anxiety, and so I couldn't help him. I kept straightening him out, and then he'd go straight back again.
Yeah. No,
That's
things like that are
heartbreaking.
difficult. They really are.
It was heartbreaking because he was one of my drama students and a really talented boy as well. So that was very sad.
Yeah, addiction issues of any kind are
Yeah.
hard. So we've sort of talked about it a little bit already. What are your top 3 issues or problems that clients tend to bring you?
I don't know. I've never thought about that. They've all got something. They're nearly always mother issues. Yes, I suppose yeah, parent, parent, parent.
Right.
Yeah, that's really common. Really common. The either historical relationship or an existing one where you know you've got adults that are still trying to be parented by their parents, and all that conflict and judgment and resentment and all of that. I think that's a common one.
Yeah.
uh, Sexual abuse, that's very common. And then there's of course there's the I wouldn't say the violence is very, very common, but it is there. It's pretty sort of standard.
Mm.
I'm trying to think of the things that don't shock me, so because
Yeah.
they must be the most common. I can't think of a third thing off the top of me. I'd leave it
Fair
with
enough. And I think that what people sort of forget as well is that IEMT is an exploration of the client's problem.
yeah,
It's not an actual solution in that sense. It's an exploration. And it's that old saying, you know, the problem is never the problem. And it rarely is. The problem that somebody's having now is usually because of things they were exposed to or were witness to or experienced at an early age that's now being re-traumatized by something, and now they're suffering the symptoms of that. So that's why we do the imprint work, going back to to the root cause and doing transformational core transformation work in that sense, rather than just trying to do patch up the symptoms of kind of what's going on at the moment. So I've worked with people who've done like sort of CBT for a long time, and CBT is great at managing your thoughts and stuff, but it doesn't address why those thoughts are there. So you're constantly sort of patching stuff up rather than dealing with the actual root cause of things. So I think CBT can work well, don't get me wrong, and it's a great thing to do, but it's not dealing with the actual issue, in my opinion. So if you deal with the issue and then do CBT, I think it'd work much better.
I absolutely agree. And actually, because I'm working with therapists a lot at the minute, they're all doing CBT and various other things, and they're frustrated because their own tools aren't helping them. And so they do the bit with me, and I go, right, go do your thing. You're not going to need me again because you've got all the answers now. You just need to look after yourself now.
Yeah. Any advice for newbies? And would you do anything different if you were starting over again now?
The things that I learned was take the money up front before the first session, because I'm not wrestling people for money, and sometimes they feel better after one session and think that's it, and then they don't want to come for the follow-ups, and then they say it's not worked because everything's fallen away again. Because you haven't finished your job, because they haven't come back. So I learned that very, very early on, that the 3 sessions work together and need to be booked together. Get that history up front, and then you've got some idea of what you're dealing with. And at least you've got a starter point clear in your head when someone comes through the door. They're just basic questions like, what emotions are you dealing with regularly? How does it manifest itself? When did it start? Overview of history and relationships with siblings, parents. That's pretty much it. As well as have you had any other counselling and all that? But I think once you've got that bit of history there about their former relationships and what the problem actually is, then you're not going in blind. And that's why I don't do the consultations or discovery calls. Because when I did, because I did at the beginning, and when I did, I found myself selling this and trying to convince somebody that this was going to work for them. And I hated feeling like that. I hated feeling like I was pushing something on somebody and trying to convince them that this was the right path for them. That's why I recorded the video, which kind of tells them that. So in a way, my consultation is the video.
Right.
That tells them what I do.
So with the history taking, that's not in person? That's just what they
email.
Okay. And that's
I just call it a little bit of history, and there's about 7 questions.
Right.
And they can if they're getting stressed, because sometimes they get stressed about having to do that. I just say, give me banner headlines. I mean, one guy, the guy I always go back to, all he put on there was angry, 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 angry. That was the answer to all. And when he came, I waved at him, and he got angry with me because I'd waved at him.
Wow.
He was adorable, session 3. He's an absolute sweetheart. But so you can get nothing, but that gives you a clue. The fact that you're getting nothing gives you a clue. Do you know what I mean? So.
Well, some of the forms I get sent back, it's just like, okay, I think that's as much as the okay, right. One last okay, a couple of last ones here, then some actual IEMT sort of ones, if that's all right. How do you, as in me, so surely that should be how do I define my target market for hypnotherapy, or just call it therapy? And do I need, or should I be a generic practitioner? Wait a minute. Should I be? I think
Yeah.
How do I define my target market for hypnotherapy, and do I need to? All right, okay. So do they need to define who they want to work with, I suppose, or should they be generic? Generic.
I think they need to
Generic.
sort out who they are.
Yes.
And that's what I was saying at the beginning.
Yeah.
That is another thing I would say to newbies. Who are you? The IEMT, it will span anything, anyone over the age of 18 anyway. And it will, as long as there's no disclaimer stuff going on. It if you know who you are and how you work and your pattern, and it's the same pattern, and I'm not saying it's a one size fit all, but the structure is
Yeah.
a one size fit all. That's the way that we're trained.
Yeah.
You know, this is the system that you're going to go through. And I think once you said, this is what I offer, I can offer rapid release from stress, anxiety, PTSD, and that's it. Yes, it can be generic. That's part of the joy of it. When I first started, I was targeting women my age in menopause, blah blah blah, and I've not ended up working with that at all, because it doesn't. That was what I was doing as a life coach. I mean, not as an IEMT practitioner, but that was the people who did my case studies with, etc. You know.
That question's just come in there. Do you pitch yourself as a coach and then your modality is IEMT, etc.? And they don't have to know about IEMT.
No, I'm an advanced IEMT practitioner and coach.
Okay.
IEMT is predominant in my practice, and that's what I say I am. An advanced IEMT practitioner and coach specializing in rapid release from anxiety, stress, trauma, and PTSD.
Okay.
That's it. That says everything. Yeah.
And it says what type of coach? It was life coach, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it meant something.
Yeah. Everyone's a life coach.
Yeah.
How often do you work with clients you've already worked with versus new clients?
Well, I think it's about 50-50.
Oh, okay.
So if I was doing, because I've got returning clients who just like me. Some of them, I keep telling them they don't need to come, but they still come. But I don't, after I've done those initial 3, I won't see anyone less than 3 or 4 weeks from that last date, because there's no need. They're empowered. But it's, for me, after that 3rd session, it's just about supporting them. And so if they say they wanted to come back and have another session, I would book them in about 3 or 4 weeks' time from the 3rd session. And then I'd do a check-in with them halfway through that period of time. And they either stay with me monthly. There's quite a few recently gone to 2 monthly. I've got clients that will come back and they've had a blip, and I'll do 1 session, which is a reset, which is basically clearing all recent events and recalibrating their ID work. And I'll do a reset like that as one-offs wherever they need me. So if I was to look at my diary next week, it will be about 50% resets or ongoing clients and 50% newbies.
And I suppose the only way that you can have that,
3 sessions, yeah.
and I suppose the only way that you can have that is by having that own system of yours, that continually following up with the clients. Yeah. So I think I really want to get this across to people, especially who are new and stuff as well. You have to have systems in your business that allow you to follow up your clients, because that's where it's when somebody has worked with you and had great results, life gets busy, life gets in the way, people forget to get back to you and stuff. So if you're like a constant, now I'm not saying be annoying like voucher emails, which I get hundreds of every day, right? But just checking in with people to kind of see how they are. And I have found personally, it takes somebody about 2 years between seeing me and going for sessions. Sometimes it's faster, but it takes about 2 years.
Yeah, they're circling you. And when people say, well, I don't know whether I don't know if I'm ready yet. And I'll always go, well, nobody's ever said to me they wish they'd come to me later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they wish they'd waited a bit longer to come and see me. It's always the opposite.
Of course.
But the other thing I would say too on that is when you're doing the check-ins, it's accountability.
Yeah.
And I will say to them, I'm going to check in with you.
Yeah.
So if I've given them homework, I'm going to check in with them in fortnight and go, how are you getting on?
Yeah.
You know, and so they're more likely to apply the tools, more likely to feel better,
Yeah.
and more likely to feel empowered and motivated to keep looking after themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got some more questions coming in here. My psychotherapy clinic where I work won't let me use IEMT as it's not recognized. What would you advise to do?
I don't know.
No. I would, my experience from this, so this is from America, I believe. So I've trained many people in our NHS system, and they're not allowed to use the eye movements within, so mental health nurses, stuff like that. What they do is private practice. And so they can do the IMT work, which, and it's ridiculous. I've got interviews with people, mental health nurses, saying I could do more in one session,
Yeah.
a 1 hour session that I can do in the eight hours that I'm allocated with a patient. I could do more in the 1 hour. And so that frustration has now got me to set up. And also, I know people who have been registered mental health nurses and stuff like that, and they've transitioned to purely private practice, and they just live, they do like half the work for twice the pay now, you know. So the thing is, waiting for IMT to be recognized as psychotherapy or evidence, but just imagine it's not going to. It's probably the easiest thing. Just imagine it won't do. So what can we actually do with what we actually have at the moment? Now, I know IMT is progressing, checking obviously with all, Andy was talking about this recently, there's all stuff going on in the association. It's probably never going to be formally recognized. It's probably never going to be in the NHS. So, but how can you use it in private practice? There's no point trying to convince people. The way I find the best way to convince people is to show them.
Yeah.
To actually give them a demonstration. I actually gave a lecture at a university to 200 or so students and psychologists, and they tore me apart. Well, a lot of them did, but the more senior they were, the more accepting they were and interested they were. As the younger students actually, who were sort of, you know, I would have been able to deal with it much better now. It didn't go badly. It's just they were obviously, but now we are doing testing, we are doing research, and I know Andy definitely wants people to do like PhDs on it and stuff like that, which will be like an evidence base. But the thing is, if you can't do IEMT in the place that you work, do it outside of the place that you work. You know, it says here, in America, this is where I am now, a coach, and my malpractice allows for IEMT. However, state of Washington does not allow me to mention IEMT, only hypnotherapy. So I learned to coach first. Your clinic is different. Okay. Do you work face-to-face or remote?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
And well, let me ask you, how do you find it? What do you prefer and what do you find the differences are?
The efficacy is the same with both.
Yeah.
It makes no difference at all. In terms of selfishly, the online ones are much more time efficient because you come on and you go off in an hour. When they're coming through the door, there's coat off, toilet, admiring the garden, chatting on the way out. So that takes longer. But there's nothing beats being with a human being in a room, you know, and you get hugs and you get presents.
What I found is that I used to work face to face. So I used to have clinics in different areas of London. And the problem is with London is London. So if I have like a 2 o'clock appointment, if somebody's not used to London, they'll get there at 2:15 and they'll have been mugged and stabbed and run over and all that. And, you know, and they'll just, don't really, but people get you in a right state if they are not used. And so the first 10 minutes is calming them, going, it's okay, you're in a safe space here, right? There's all these ambulances going past and, you know, marches. So when I work with people online, they're in the comfort of their own home.
Yeah.
So I actually find them much easier to work with because you don't have that, you know.
Unless one of their issues is you know, what's
claustrophobia.
Claustrophobia. No, the other one. Agoraphobia.
So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
agoraphobia.
I did have someone, he was only in Telford, he was about 50 minutes away, and he had his first session with me, second session, and I said, right, next week you're coming to me. And I made him travel and come through the door just to prove, obviously I didn't make him, he was perfectly happy to, but I live in rural Shropshire, so I don't usually have any traumatic ambulance and muggings and stuff. I live in a lovely little village, so I'm fine.
I used to work on Old Street in central London and London Bridge, so it was you can't do hypnosis there.
It's interesting though, the referral system, because it used to be very local and it's going out and out and out and out now, and people are traveling like an hour and a half to get to me. And I'm thinking, I don't think I would do that. I would say, look, I'm an hour and a half away, because it's such a lot of time out of the day that these people genuinely just want to be in the same room. They feel better. So it is all personal preference.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think it's what you're kind of set up for, I suppose, really. Okay, so I've got some IEMT questions. I think that's all like the general kind of questions. I don't really know. Anyway, I'll ask it. How would you work with a perfectionist?
I don't really know what it is they want.
No, I know.
I work with a lot of perfectionists. You know, there's a lot of clients that come and they're perfectionists, but that's like a byproduct of whatever's going on. I would say if someone's a perfectionist, they have low self-esteem, they need that external validation to make them feel better about themselves. And I need to look at the identity work of where that came from. And there'll be somebody in the past telling them that they keep getting it wrong all the time. So that's what I would say to that one.
My angle on that is like, by being perfect, or this being perfect, what does that allow you to feel, experience, believe, think, and what does that allow you to avoid?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's always, what does it allow you to avoid doing?
Absolutely.
And also, people use perfectionism to not do the thing.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Procrastination.
Creates inertia. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole, what would it feel like to not be perfect?
Yeah.
So, and then accessing that and take it back to an imprint. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of it is obviously parental. So I've worked with people who've had very strict parents, like very, very strict, and they've been brought up in very musical houses where they've been taught piano or ballet. But I've worked with a lot of people who've been through ballet, and that you have to stand perfectly in a position for ages, and you have to cry through the pain. And if you do one thing, you used to get hit with a ruler or things like this. So a lot of that, people are sort of, unconsciously moving away from physical pain that they've endured by being imperfect.
Yes, but also there's that whole, isn't there, that they're looking for external validation. They're unable to self-validate.
Well, they can be. It depends, because the thing is, this is why with IEMT we don't really work with labels, because you can have two perfectionists, but they have completely different sets of problems and symptoms.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So that's why when
that's just a symptom, isn't it? Of something else.
Yeah. And so when I used to do hypnosis, especially like the lower level training of hypnosis, you get a book of scripts. So if you work with the perfectionist, you have a perfectionist script. Well, that doesn't suit, different people. So with IEMT, it's an exploration of the client's problems as opposed to that.
Yeah.
This is something interesting. How would you work with somebody who is grieving for a fantasy life they never had?
Oh, you see, I've done that. I do that a lot, because that's what happens when people have broken up. And Andy said that you can't work on anticipatory things, and you can. Because what happens is, when we've been in love with somebody and we've got engaged to them, and we've created this whole fantasy world of walking down the aisle with this person, popping out a couple of kids, living in this white picket fence, whatever it is, and we've visualized a future with this human. And then he does the dirty, buggers off with the best friend or whatever it is, and they're left grieving for this future that they're never going to have. But that is actually stored in the memory. So actually getting them to play that fantasy world that they're grieving for, like a movie, and running an eye movement across it, a memory eye movement across it, it works.
Oh, okay.
Every time.
Oh.
And that's how I've managed to heal heartbreak multiple times, because they know that they're better off without them. You've done all that. I have to say, you've already done all that. Them dumping you, that moment, you know, understanding that there's no point in them being with you if they don't want to be. All of that's been done, but that's what's keeping it alive, the loss of that future. And I just tried it once and it worked like a charm, and I've done it every single time since. Yeah.
Excellent. One more business one, actually, then some more IMT. How did you grow your practice? Please share 3 to 4 things that you did that helped to grow your business initially.
I did Facebook Lives. You'll remember this.
Yeah.
I did Facebook Lives at 8 o'clock every morning, Monday to Friday, just saying whatever came into my head. That's how I got my social media presence. That was in the days when it had just started and it was a new thing. So it was good time. And I did about over 600 lives over a period of 3 or 4 years. And I was going to stop, but then lockdown happened and I thought I was better off keeping it. It was like a public service by then. So that was definitely what put my name out locally. And that is what started to bring in local people who were right next to me, because I used to share the videos in my community pages.
Okay.
And I was definitely getting local people coming to me locally because they knew me. And of course, I'd worked in the weight loss industry locally. I've taught the kids for drama locally, so they already knew who I was. So I guess that was a good. I had a profile in terms of people knew me. So that was one of the things that I did. What was the question, Matt? I'm sorry.
Just basically, what are 3 to 4 things that you did when you started to really kind of promote your business and grow your business?
Doing the whole referral thing, sending people away with business cards. I still send people away with half a dozen business cards every single time. They still work in this day and age. They're
100%. Especially with a
cards.
QR code as well.
Oh no, I'm not that sophisticated.
Oh right.
No.
Paper and pen. Just write my name down.
It's got my website on there. But yeah, the business card thing, very definitely. Putting every time you work with a hairdresser, oh dear God, or a nail technician, or an absolute referral stream. Because they listen to people unloading all day, the poor sods. So the first thing you do is teach them how to look after themselves and how to say, look, I can't help you, but this person can. You know, having those. And then, of course, that's where the referrals start. And then
100%.
it goes outside of the town and da-da-da. So
you've got these little black flies. Just to jump in there quickly, actually. So my ex-flatmate and his dad used to be carpet cleaners, professional carpet cleaners. So what they did is they targeted, I believe, Cheshire and North Wales and stuff, and they found the top hair salons and beauty salons, contacted the managers and said, we would like to clean your house for free, your carpets for no money, no setup. All we want you to do is to leave some promotional materials in your place and you talk about as if you see fit. That was their marketing strategy. So they are professional networkers.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And they get so much crap dumped on them from people who are unloading. They're an absolute poor sods. I mean, the amount of them I've worked with.
Yeah.
And they do. And to protect themselves, I'm saying you don't have to fix this person's problem. You just have to tell them where they can get fixed.
Absolutely. I think that's a brilliant thing. And I think that one thing which I want to sort of hammer home to people as well is consistency. I think that we have this like shiny object syndrome of I'm going to post loads of stories on Instagram. You might do it for a few days, and then I'm going to do this. I'm going to do no. So I do a weekly Q&A, and I then have a standard operating procedure of how I then distribute that and upload it and put it in different places and stuff, rather than just doing random stuff. And that's what social media and stuff like takes time to do. It takes time. And you need to have systems in place to deal with if you get a sudden viral thing, to actually deal with the leads are incoming as well. But my thing is to build consistent marketing strategies that you can also basically take accountability and sort of measure as well. So the amount of hours you're putting in, how many leads and how many clients is it generating as well. But being consistent, I think, is really important, because you did Facebook Lives every day. You did 600. Exactly, and that got you a wide, and that's because they're probably still out there. And do they,
Well, nobody knew what I did.
Yeah.
It was like, who? I thought she was a drama teacher. What's she doing now? It was all of that. So I had to, even though people knew who I was, they didn't know what I did, or they associated me with Weight Watchers.
Yeah.
And so I just had to say, this is what I do. And I spent every morning saying, like, the first thing that came into my head when I fell out of bed, literally. And yeah, I mean, it was a lot of effort. And did I see a massive return from it? No. But the foundation I laid is now everybody knows who I am. And well, not everybody, but most people locally know who I am, and most people know what I do.
Absolutely. And I think if I was going to do a Facebook or Instagram live every day or something, I would do it at the same time for 10 minutes rather than just going on for an hour. But what I would do, I would do it about something specific in the news and give my opinion on it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Basically, I think a really good place for stuff like this is the Daily Mail online, and look at the news headlines in the sidebar. It depends on the audience you're sort of going for. But if you're looking, so yeah, I would comment, give my view of what's happening. As an IEMT therapist,
Yeah, absolutely, a worldview, and I would do that, if it was a day where Daughter's Day, or how they do that, whatever was going on, or just something that happened that was funny in the street the day before, and I used to try to make it funny and comedy and stuff like that,
And if you give your view on stuff that's in the zeitgeist, you're more likely to be invited onto podcasts, webcasts, radio, TV. And that's what I used to do. I used to do loads of work. When I was in Manchester, I was on BBC Radio all the time in the morning show. And it was like sort of like Loose Women. There was like 3 or 4 women and 1 man for every show. And I used to be on as the resident hypnotherapist. And I got loads of work from that.
That's great.
Yeah. And I got that because somebody picked up, it was Lily Allen, actually. Lily Allen had hypnotherapy for weight loss. And I wrote a blog article going, how to lose weight like Lily Allen.
Oh.
And so, so if you put stuff out that's interesting, people kind of latch onto it and think, share it. And it's like with a podcast as well. People expect you to deliver this on a consistent basis. And when you don't, they get annoyed.
Yeah.
So when you do stuff sporadically, you're more likely to annoy people than attract people to you.
Yeah. I very, very much agree with you there, that 10 minutes, 5 days a week. And then I gradually weaned them off me. I didn't just subtly stop.
Yeah.
And then I think I did a live in New York when I went to New York.
All right.
And I saved that one. I loved that. And
Brilliant.
That's the first live I've done for about 18 months. But yeah, had to be done.
I've got quite a long sort of question here. Then I'm going to see if anybody else has any questions as well. I have a client who consistently doubts the results. She has an intestinal disease, so IBS, and has been ill for 5 years. After a mishap at a cafe, she couldn't get into the toilet in time. This caused panic attacks, making her afraid to leave the house. She has undergone all the therapy and treatments available before she came to see me. And now she knows exactly what's happening, that she doesn't have to believe her thoughts, but despite this, her body reacts with stress and discomfort. After 2 sessions of IEMT, she's back teaching her own class. This is a truly incredible result, but after that, she collapsed. She feels worthless, can't see the enormous progress she's made, and has lost faith in IEMT, or more likely herself. How would you handle this? And what next steps with IEMT would you now try?
Well, I read this about 3 times before I came on. So the first thing is, if she's collapsed, then and she doesn't believe and she feels worthless, that's all identity stuff. So she needs her ID work checking. She also needs, how I would handle it is I would go in, do some eye movements, memory eye movements on the incident of her collapsing at the end of that. Then I would recalibrate her identity work, and then I would look at how this situation has got agency over her. And then because she's developed a phobia of being in public spaces because she might have an accident or whatever. So for me, it will be getting her to look at her relationship, each individual I, me, self, you, each individual part of her identity will have a relationship with being outside in that environment. And that all needs recalibrating. And there's a chance there that there's something else going on just before that very first bathroom moment. That's what I would say. And that's what I would do.
Cool. Yeah, I would do something sort of similar, really.
Yeah.
Again, it's sort of breaking sort of everything down and finding out. So it just says, and she collapsed. Well, first of all, you want to make sure that's not a medical thing.
Yes.
Was it because sometimes you can collapse from like a low blood sugar or something, you know, it's you want to always make sure if somebody has a medical thing that they are medically okay to have IEMT or any kind of therapy. You don't want to. So when I get people coming to me wanting to help them with pain and stuff, I'm like, well, no, I'm not medically trained. I don't want to help with pain because pain is there for a reason. And I don't, unless, in fact, no, I won't even do it with a doctor. But I know there's like, because I did training in old pain to go and stuff, which I completely get. But it's, I don't get involved in medical stuff. So before I continue to work with that client, I would need them to actually see their GP to understand the reason why they did collapse. And if they did collapse, what happened before they collapsed? You know, what was the actual thing? Was it a build-up? Was it something quick? But you know, so if they're getting panic attacks, because then I do some memory work kind of around that. And then it seems that she's in a bit of a fragile position where one thing can happen, then it kind of escalates into now this identity issue, which she now then has. So again, it's an exploration of kind of what's going on. And now what's the problem? You know, what is the problem now?
And it's
And I
very
think,
difficult to do these. This is the situation. What would
yeah,
you do? Because we have no knowledge of that client. We've only got what another therapist is telling us is presented. So it is very difficult. But yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions? I know that quite a few people have had to leave and stuff, which is fine because I'll send this recording. But does anybody have any other questions for Mandie at all before we wrap up? Julie's had to leave. Okay, thank you, Julia. I think we've covered all of the questions in the chat. Mandie, before we go, can I ask you, what's your future in regarding to sort of IEMT? I know you said you sort of slowed down and you started speeding up and stuff. Oh, what year is it? 2000, is it 2025? It is, right. Next year, what's your thought about working and stuff? What's your approach going? Have you thought about that or?
This next year, well, for me, the next 3 years are going to be pretty much what I'm doing now. I have got a hungry brain. Like I said, the menopausal neurons seem to have woken up again, and so I'm now firing on all 4 cylinders, and I'm looking forward to learning, like the metaphors and movements that we were talking about before, the visualization techniques that I was telling you about. I may start poking about with that. For me, it's more about learning around the back of what it is that I do. And I don't know. There's the whole mentoring thing, because I could mentor now and I don't particularly want to.
Right, okay.
Because I like being on the coalface, and you know, and like I said to you before, I don't mind working with therapists on their stuff and on building their confidence to go ahead, and I don't mind, but the marketing and training, it's all your department. But to mentor, I would end up helping clients via one other person, and I'm not too sure if I want to do that. But there may come a time in the future when I'm looking at retirement where I may make up my own mentoring program and do the training with the association and do that. I don't know. But that I won't be looking at anything until I'm at least 65. I'm 62 in March, so that's my immediate future. But who knows? I might fancy that gig on Radio 2 and being part of a panel.
It was Radio Manchester that I was on. The building's not there anymore. But the thing is, it's like with that. So what I suggest to do with things like podcasts and things like that is listen to them, sort of become a fan of the actual podcasts, and then just contact the producer. So that's what I did with Jack Mate. And I was going to go on it as well, but it kind of felt, well, it moved on to Spotify and sort of stuff like that. But I was going to help him with trypophobia, which is small. So it's the back of the iPhone with the small holes. And then he had some personal issues that were, but anyway, I might get in contact with him again, actually. But identify the publications, the podcasts or the interviews or the programs that you want to be on. It's easier to get on TV, radio, podcast now than it ever has been. Honestly. It really is.
I mean, I have done that sort of thing in the past. I don't know. I really love my life. I guess I'm really, really lucky because I've got the balance right. And I don't feel like a burning desire that there's something that I still need to do. You know, I just love what I do. What I love more than anything is new clients coming through that door and helping another human, you know.
And you kind of got the balance right. You've got a waiting list and it's all good. Well, cool. Well, lots of nice comments in here. Thank you. This has been fabulous. Amazing. Thanks for putting this on.
Thank you.
This has been so helpful. Well, thank you very much, guys. I've got trainings all through next year. I'm going to be putting them all on the website. The next one is January the 24th and 25th, which will be my next training. If anyone's interested, just drop me a message. I'll send you a link as well. It's actually better. You can book it online as well, actually. Any last final thoughts, Mandie?
No, just thank you for having me. It's been lovely to do this again. It's becoming an annual event.
I know it is. So next year we'll get it booked in. Christmas carols with Mandie. And thank you very much, guys, for joining us. And I will see you all soon. Thanks very much, Mandie. Take care.
See you later. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.